Hi, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Alonso here with Matt and Christy. They have caught little fish. I have not, so I'll let them talk about it.
Wow. I thought Matt was the pun king.
Wow.
Wow.
So this is from director Chad Hartigan. And it's interesting because it's based on a short story that was first published a decade ago. And the script was written several years ago. And it was all finished before the pandemic. But it is eerily familiar in that it is about a virus that spreads and they don't know what causes it and they don't know how to cure it. But what this virus does, it takes away your memory. And it can hit anybody at any time, regardless of age or previous medical condition. And it's sort of like dementia, but it can hit either all at once, like a ton of bricks, and it's just gone. You have no idea who you are all of a sudden, or it can slip away from you in little dribs and drabs. And in the midst of all this, Olivia Cooke and Jack O'Connell meet and fall in love. She is a veterinarian tech at an animal shelter. He is a photographer. They live in Seattle. And it is how they navigate this world and what happens when he begins to forget things and what happens when friends begin to forget things and her mother. And it hits everyone differently. And there are some chilling images here. Which would be anyway, but especially so given what we are going through as a nation, as the world with this coronavirus. And so you'll see people sitting in the waiting room of a clinic wearing masks, surgical masks, anxiously filling out paperwork, or the news is on 24/7 talking about how there's hope for this clinical trial, or there are stories of people clamoring outside of hospitals because they're just desperate for care. And again, these all would have been disturbing anyway, but now it's just like, whoa, too soon, man. But it's just a matter of just bizarre coincidental timing. And so it's depicted in kind of impressionistic wisps, the romance and how it develops, and like looking back on those early days, it jumps back and forth in time. And at first it seems like the imagery, the montage of their falling in love is like the stuff of indie romances that you see all the time, of them dancing or playing with sparklers or, laughing in slow motion or going down the slide at a water park. But later on, you begin to recognize the significance of these moments and they become weightier and more poignant. It's quite lovely. It's very melancholy, very sad. There's a wistfulness to it. Keegan DeWitt did the score, and that adds a great deal to the feeling here. The first half of it's quite wistful, and the second half of it takes on an urgency as Jack O'Connell's character begins forgetting things. It's interesting how many movies are out right now that have to do with memory and reality. We talked about Bliss a little bit ago. There's also a film that's out this week called Falling that Viggo Mortensen wrote and directed and stars in which his dad is suffering from dementia. So they're all kind of out now, but this has there's a gentle urgency to this, to encourage you to hold on to what is important and how the people that you love help you define who you are and what matters to you. It's quite lovely.
Yeah, I really like this. I will, if you are the type of person that cares about this thing, absolutely look this movie up on Does the Dog Die?
Oh, yeah.
This movie is beautiful and haunting, and it's very emotional. I really liked what it was doing. I know I haven't read the story, but I've read about it and read some interviews with the writer, and she talks about some of the stuff that's original for the script, like the whole idea of the possible cure, and that whole sequence is all new. But I really like this. I think that they had really good chemistry. Mm-hmm. I like the way that Jack O'Connell's character was kind of approaching this, and that he would, we see him being relatively positive and accepting of things as opposed to his friend who is, does that thing that we see people with dementia or Alzheimer's do. Like, who the fuck are you people? What's going on? Right. I mean, I've said to my wife in the last 6 months or so that I'm going to start training myself that if she tells me something that I've forgotten, I'll just be like, yeah, okay, sure. Like training myself to just be like, yeah, okay, this is new. All right. So I'm not one of those people, not that I know that I have Alzheimer's, but so I don't end up being one of those people who's angry about the stuff they forget. I don't know if that'll actually work, but that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I really, really like this movie. I think my score that I initially gave you, Christy, was probably a little bit low. And I think partly because there's a real sadness to it. Mm-hmm. And I think partly because the way it made me feel, like it's hard for you to remember a movie that I'm this impressed with and like this much that made me feel so sad. And I think one of the telling things about the writers she's talked about writing the story from the point of view, and it comes up with the Olivia Cook character, like, how do you grieve when everybody else is going through the same thing? And I think that's a really telling part and something that's really relevant to what we're all going through. Like, how do you grieve when everybody else has that same issue and we're all in this together? You can't quite lean on everybody else because they've got their own grief. And yeah.
An interesting line too that she says, because she narrates quite a bit of it in understated ways. She says, how do you build a life together and move forward when you're constantly having to look back?
Yeah.
Because he's always having to remember things. And there are some details that are kind of like Memento, like he's writing things down on the back of Polaroids to remind himself of who people are. But it's ultimately maybe a little hopeful.
Yeah, maybe.
But there's a totally lingering sadness to it, like lingering melancholy beyond just like sad, weepy indie drama.
Would it be as resonant if we weren't in a pandemic?
I think that has a lot to do with it. Is it how much we relate to a lot of the imagery and a lot of the themes here? But it still would have been very good, of course.
I think it would be, because I got the sense that she was inspired to write this kind of post 9/11 and looking at those types of disasters. So
obviously, I mean, movies take a long time to make, and it's based on a story. I just was curious in terms of.
No, I think it would resonate partly because, it is. I mean, look, like take away the pandemic, you're still looking at what is effectively a story of like what it might be like living with someone with Alzheimer's, right? They're much younger than you would expect an Alzheimer's patient to be, but yeah, I think it is still. And the way that the director finds to keep that relationship going and still show you an affection, even though one of them is clearly forgetting things left and right. I still bought it. And yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yes, I do too. So I'm saying 7.9. Do you want to change your number?
Yeah, I'm going to go up to 8.
Okay. So our number is an 8.
All righty. So just in case people are wondering, I did not get a chance to see the 2 films that I did not see this week because I was reviewing Sundance stuff. So if you want to read my reviews of those movies, go over to TheWrap where all that's happening. Anyway, thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and drop by our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. So much ground to cover on WandaVision this week, talking about Bridgerton, and we'll figure out what our February poll is. Maybe we'll do a nice love story since it's Valentine's month. I don't know. We'll figure it out, and that'll be something that our subscribers get to pick, and it'll be a classic we review just for them. So thank you all for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
And we'll see you on Monday for Marvel Monday. I can say that. Marvel Monday on Monday, my first episode. So come back for that, and then we'll see you again next Friday. Thanks.
For sure. Bye.